about water and urban places. This is Ideanthro. Wow, and welcome back to Ideanthro. Let me explain. One of the things I really like about making these videos is it gives me an opportunity and an excuse, not that you really need an excuse because this is a really sensible thing to do, but it gives me an opportunity and an excuse to meet with people doing really interesting and innovative work that I can learn from and use to inform my own thinking about water sensitive urban design. And the amount of useful conversations this is generating for me that I then try and reflect back as best I can through these videos, it's off the charts. I, just a couple of hours ago, got to spend a couple of hours with Jeffrey Smith from Blue Mountain City Council. You may know this because if all going well, the previous episode on Ideanthro was with Jeffrey. We were standing in front of a low-tech rain garden that the crew at Blue Mountain City Council had designed and built in one day. And for me, that blew my mind. The thought that we could have a council that has built enough skills and expertise in-house within its own teams and within the local contractors that they can get out and build one of these systems, design and build a system in a single day blows my mind because it ties back really, really, really beautifully to the main thing that I've been thinking about in water sensitive urban design recently. And that's the concept that I raised in episode 197, the concept of needing to do more with less. So as a short recap on that episode, recently I and a number of colleagues at a local government in Southeast Queensland essentially asked ourselves 4 questions about the current state of play of water sensitive urban design in that local government area. And for me, when I looked at those questions, because one of them I hadn't asked myself before, when I looked at those, for me it narrowed my focus down to a very particular strategy and a bit of clarity about what we should be doing as our high-level direction with water sensitive urban design. And that direction was, if we want to achieve healthy waterways with this thing called water sensitive urban design, exactly what it is, not sure. It doesn't necessarily have to be bioretention as we currently know it, but if we want to achieve healthy urban waterways with this thing called water sensitive urban design, the reality is, compared to what we're currently doing at the moment, we need to be doing a lot more and we need to do it cheaper. And that's a dichotomy and that's a problem, but it can also be used as a high-level guiding principle to guide whatever we do in this space. So I've been using that, and as I've been considering options as what we should do with policy and planning in this space, I've been using that to guide my thinking. The fact that whatever it is, we need to be doing more and it needs to cost us less money. Well, I just spent the afternoon out with Jeffrey from Blue Mountains, and the thing that strikes me is that what they're doing here, by having developed these skills in-house and have this great team that can go out and build these systems, design and build these systems in a day, they've essentially cracked onto one method of doing more with less. It's not to say it's the only way to do it. It's not to say that it's like the best way to do it even, although frankly, given that I'm making this video, you can see that I like it. But it is a way. And for me, it feels like a good way. Because what they've done, by developing these in-house skills, they've essentially cut out a lot of mucking around in the traditional design process. Because traditionally, if you're building a rain garden, right, you would go through some kind of formal design process. You would then need to document that design, transfer that knowledge across to the people building it, and the people building it would have to go out and source the materials and to do it. And what Blue Mountains Council has essentially managed to do is get it to a point where they can turn up on site and know that, look, the high-level principles of what we're doing on this site is we are disconnecting that stormwater pipe from that receiving environment. And they have the skills to look at that site, to arrive with fairly typical materials that they're used to using in other situations similar to this and have them in typical quantities, to arrive with that and to look at the site and go, okay, with our suite of existing tools, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make it work? And it cuts out all that guff in the design. It cuts out the formalization of that design process. It cuts out the documentation of it and the transfer of the knowledge and just gets down to the nitty-gritty of, look, let's build something that works. And I really like that because it is doing more with less. So it's got me thinking about, okay, so let's put this in the context of a local government in Southeast Queensland, because that's where I'm from. That's what I've got a real interest in here. So I'm trying to relate this back to my own context. At the moment, a local government in that situation, well, there's state legislation that means that new development in that local government area is probably currently already treating its stormwater to some sort of standard, and there's a bit of disquiet about, look, how well that's going, how well systems are integrating, and so on and so forth. And some local governments have considered offsets in this space. And stunning as this might sound for anyone who's watched the previous episode of Ideanthro, I'm beginning for the first time in my life to see a situation where an offset might actually be really useful, because it might allow us to get into this doing more with less space. So consider this, consider that local government. Most of its stormwater treatment assets are probably being built by the development sector and either retained in private ownership on private lands or handed over to council. And a lot of those assets, maybe they're not the perfect great assets that we'd really, really like to have. And at the same time, the council might be building a few of its own assets, but probably not a lot of them. And it's probably going through a much more formal, longer traditional design process. Because the reality is, the beauty of the Blue Mountains approach is that because it's a self-reinforcing pattern, they have put in effort to build a bunch of systems quickly at the start. And by doing it regularly, the team had regular practice and has developed the real expertise for it. And once they have the expertise on it, they can do the next ones quicker and cheaper, which means they can do more of them so they can continue to build their expertise. So then they're actually looping into a true continual improvement cycle, which is wicked. The problem for a local government is how to break into that the first time. So in this hypothetical, where I'm thinking of a hypothetical local government in Southeast Queensland, I'm like, okay, even if they are building some of their own assets, they're probably not building a lot of them, and they're probably going through a much more traditional, longer design process. And that means it costs more money to do it, so they can build less of them, so they have less chances to build the expertise and learn, so it takes longer to learn. You can see the problem here, right? I could see a situation where a local government went, okay, what if we took a partial offset from developers? So developers still need to do something on site. I haven't completely disregarded that long-standing opinion of mine, is that new development is a crackingly good opportunity to manage stormwater, and we should not be missing it. And so new development needs to do something on site. But maybe it might be appropriate for them to do a little less than they currently are. So they could do that a little bit less on site, contribute to council to do the remainder of that, and then that money could then be used, supplementing council's existing money. Council could then begin to do more systems more regularly, which gives them more opportunities to build skills like Blue Mountain City Council has. And by building more skills, they can start to down the design and construct process, which means they can do even more. So they build even more skills and things get cheaper. They're able to do more with less. I could see a situation where this could actually work. And that's got me really excited. It's not to say it's the only thing. It's not to say there aren't other elements that should fit in with this, but it does sound promising. The other thing here is that by doing more systems more regularly, council will have more opportunities to innovate. Because here's one of the problems for me at the moment is that we have a suite of technologies, but they're too expensive to scale up across the whole city, in my opinion. So we need to also innovate the technologies to make them cheaper. Well, this is an opportunity to do it. The reality is that the DA process is a terrible place to try and drive innovation from. The DA process is essentially, look, will you please design your bioretention system in accordance with the bioretention technical design guidelines and nothing else, thank you. Whereas, sorry to anyone in DA, but that is often how the DA process plays out, right? Or a slight exaggeration. But you get the point. The DA process, because of its very nature, is not the most innovative process in the world. There are people who are managing to do good and innovative stuff through it. But I could see a situation where by taking partial offsets and bringing this across into a continual improvement process like what Blue Mountain City Council is running, we could create real opportunities for council to innovate and develop new designs and to feed those back in and to feed those back through and develop those and then to pass them back into the DA process and go, okay, now that we've figured out that these are the things that we like and are cheaper and better and let's feed that back and allow development to do it. It could all tie together really quite nicely. And so this has got me really excited. It's not to say this is the only way to do it, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about the opportunity that Jeffrey gave me by taking me around and showing me these systems and telling me about what's going on out here, because it seems like it's a piece that we can bring back and apply for me in Southeast Queensland, but I'm sure apply it down in Sydney, or apply it in Melbourne or Adelaide or whatever capital city you're in. This thing they've got going on, it's beautiful, it's really nice. So, thank you, Jeffrey, for taking the time and showing me around. Thank you also, Eric, who has a big hand in building a lot of these systems, and I got to chat to really briefly this afternoon. I appreciate that quick little chat at the end, and I hope to get back out this way soon and see you both, and to see a system being constructed. I hope that happens sooner rather than later. I'm really looking forward to it. But for now, I'm going to have to leave it there and live with the memories of what I've seen and what you told me. But hopefully, not too long. Okay. Thank you both. Thank you everyone for tuning in. But for now, see you later.
Before you go, our best episodes come from your questions. This knowledge base, these discussions that are Ideanthro, improve with your contribution. So if there's a topic, an idea, a concept that you would like us to explore, come and ask us. You know where to find us. www.ideanthro.com/contact. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and that place you get your good podcasts from. You know where to find us. We look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you soon.